Piracy wasn't just a crime in the ancient world, it was an industry, with its own markets, its own supply chains, and even its own state sponsors. For centuries, the Mediterranean was the highway of the ancient economy. Grain, wine, olive oil, metals, and slaves moved across its waters in thousands of ships, and wherever cargo moves, someone will try to take it. But the pirates of antiquity were not desperate outlaws, they were businessmen. They ran ransoms like negotiators, operated slave markets like merchants, and built fleets that could challenge the greatest powers of their age. This is the story of the men who taxed the Mediterranean without a government and the empire that finally put them out of business. I'm your host, and this is Empires and Economics. To understand ancient piracy, start with geography. The Mediterranean is a closed sea ringed by mountains and islands, thousands of natural harbors, hidden coves, and narrow straits where ships must pass slowly. The most notorious pirate base was Cilicia, on the rugged southern coast of Anatolia, modern Turkey. Rocky, forested, and hard to reach by land, it was a fortress facing the sea. From there, pirates could raid the busiest shipping lanes in the world. The poet Strabo described the Cilicians as men who built fleets of light, fast ships called hemiolii, built for speed, not cargo. They struck quickly, vanished into hidden inlets, and sold their plunder in markets that dotted the coastline. By the 1st century BC, what had begun as scattered raids had become a confederation. The pirates of Cilicia and Crete organized into fleets, coordinated their attacks, and ran their business like a corporation of the sea. Every industry needs inputs. For the pirate economy, the inputs were ships, crews, and information. Pirates built their own galleys in the forests of Cilicia, cheap, fast, and expendable. Their crews were recruited from the desperate, escaped laborers, ruined farmers, exiles, and unemployed sailors drawn to a trade where a single good haul could make a man rich. But the real capital of the pirate economy was information. Pirates needed to know which ships were carrying what, when they sailed, and where they were weakest. They paid informants in the ports, dock workers, merchants, even officials, who reported on cargo manifests and departure times. In modern terms, the pirates ran a targeted intelligence operation against the shipping industry. When a target was taken, the cargo was sold in pirate markets along the coast. Wine, oil, grain, and textiles were moved through a distribution network that stretched from Cilicia to the great slave market of Delos. And the most profitable product of all was people. The ancient slave trade was enormous, and piracy fed it. The island of Delos, in the center of the Aegean, was the largest slave market in the Mediterranean. The historian Strabo wrote that Delos could receive and sell tens of thousands of slaves in a single day. Where did they come from? War, debt, and birth into slavery accounted for many. But piracy was the great supplier, raiding coastal villages, capturing entire ship crews, and selling the captives within days at markets like Delos. A healthy adult could fetch a year's wages for a skilled worker. Educated captives, scribes, tutors, physicians commanded far more. For the pirates, a captured ship wasn't just cargo, it was a floating lottery ticket. Piracy's other great revenue stream was ransom. The most famous ransom in ancient history came in 75 BC, when pirates captured a young Roman nobleman traveling to study in Rhodes. The captors demanded a ransom of 20 talents, a fortune worth millions in modern money. The young man laughed. He told them they clearly didn't know who they had captured, and offered 50. His name was Julius Caesar. After he was released, he raised a fleet, hunted down his captors, and had them executed. A lesson in the dangers of negotiating with future dictators. But most ransoms were paid quietly. The pirates held Roman senators, knights, and merchants for sums that enriched whole communities. Cities along the coast paid protection money to keep their shipping safe, and the pirates, ever the pragmatists, took the payments and often left them alone. By the 70s BC, piracy had become a systemic problem for the Roman economy. Rome depended on the sea for its food supply. Grain from Sicily, Sardinia, and North Africa fed 1 million people in the capital. When pirates raided the grain routes, prices spiked in Rome, and food shortages threatened riots. Worse, the pirates had grown bold enough to raid the Italian coast itself. They captured 2 Roman praetors, magistrates of the state, along with their attendants. They attacked the port of Ostia, Rome's own harbor, and burned the warships anchored there. The Roman economy was an import economy. Disrupt the sea lanes and the whole system choked. The cost of doing business climbed, insurance, protection payments, lost cargo, and the price was paid by every merchant, every farmer, and every consumer in the empire. For decades, Rome tried to contain the pirates with piecemeal campaigns. Local commanders chased pirate fleets, burned strongholds, and claimed victories. But the industry always rebuilt itself. The pirates simply moved their bases, bribed the right officials, and waited for the Romans to leave. The breakthrough came in 67 BC when the tribune Gabinius proposed something radical: give one man absolute command of the entire Mediterranean with unlimited funds and a fleet that could not be refused. That man was Gnaeus Pompeius, Pompey the Great. The Senate, desperate, granted him powers no Roman general had ever held. He was given command of the sea, authority over all coasts for 50 miles inland, and a treasury that emptied the state's reserves. It was the ancient equivalent of a national emergency response, and it worked. Pompey did not fight one great battle. He fought a campaign, and he fought it like a corporate restructuring. He divided the Mediterranean into 13 districts, each with its own fleet and commander, so that no pirate fleet could escape one zone without running into another. His forces swept the sea from west to east, cornering the pirates in their own harbors. But Pompey understood the economics of piracy better than anyone. He offered the pirates mercy, land, settlement, and honest livelihoods in exchange for surrender. Thousands of pirates and their families accepted. Pompey resettled them inland, away from the sea, in towns where they could farm instead of raid. Within 3 months, the Mediterranean was clear. The pirate confederation, which had fielded nearly 1,000 ships and controlled the trade of the Eastern Sea, was dismantled, not by slaughter, but by incentive. Pompey's campaign is often told as a military triumph, but its real lesson is economic. Before Pompey, the Mediterranean was a high-risk environment. Every voyage carried the cost of potential capture, insurance, protection money, lost ships, lost crews. That cost was a tax on trade, paid by everyone who bought grain, wine, or slaves. After Pompey, the sea was safe, and safe seas are cheap seas. Trade expanded, prices fell, and the volume of goods moving across the Mediterranean grew. The Roman state paid for the fleet with taxes, but the return on that investment flowed through every port in the empire. The Romans had discovered what every modern nation knows: security is infrastructure, and infrastructure done right pays for itself. But here is the uncomfortable part of the story. For centuries, the great powers had tolerated the pirates. Why? Because piracy was useful. The pirates destabilized rivals, weakened commercial competitors, and supplied the slave markets that Roman estates depended on. The kingdoms of the East and even some Roman governors quietly profited from the chaos. The pirates were not a foreign enemy. They were a shadow economy that the system both condemned and fed. It took a crisis that threatened Rome's own food supply to make the state pay the real cost of security. When it finally did, the pirate economy vanished, not because piracy was immoral, but because it had become unprofitable. The lesson of the ancient pirates is that crime is an economy. It has inputs, outputs, markets, and overhead. It survives when the cost of stopping it exceeds the cost of tolerating it, and it dies the moment the state decides to make security a priority. The Mediterranean became a Roman lake, and the pirate industry became a footnote. But the economics never changed. Wherever cargo moves and protection is cheap, someone will try to take a cut. The pirates of Cilicia are gone. The business model is not.